With the NHL newsreel abuzz, your fantasy hockey source is ratcheted up a notch on the latest episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. And we got to take a look across the league. Ovi cooking. What's going on with Matthews? And of course, big time bets. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome back inside the lab to your 30-minute daily source for fantasy hockey news, betting breakdowns, and anything going on in the NHL. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm joined, as always, by my distinguished co-host, Mr. Steele Roden, on this side of the microphone. It's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. Shout out, much love, salute, and thank you so much. That's a lot, I know, but that's how much our everydayers making us your first listen mean to us. Couldn't be doing the show without y'all, so much love there. Got to get that plug out of the way nice and early, Steele. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Indeed. Still searching for a great candidate for your company? Don't search, just match with Indeed. Steele, let's get down to business here. There is a lot of things going on in the NHL. Alex Ovechkin absolutely cooking. We're going to start there. Matthews, what's going on? A little update, taking a look at the Maple Leafs as well. We'll mention Darnell Nurse, maybe a little Connor Bedard love, and of course, 7-game betting breakdown coming in hot. I think you and I had a pretty good week last week, and I would love to keep that rolling. So, over to you, because speaking of which, a Hattie for Ovi. This is getting exciting. I've got a take here, though, that I want to bounce off you, but over to you. What are you seeing from the grade 8 so far?
I'm seeing greatness right now. He has turned back the clock, turned back time to when he was in his prime. And at 38, 39 years old, he has just been absolutely phenomenal this season. He leads the league with 13 goals on the season. He has 23 points in 17 games. He's firing on all cylinders, 60 shots on net. He's still bringing the boom, the physicality with 43 hits as well. He's getting it done from that patented spot on the man advantage too. He's just filling out every single peripheral category you could want from Ovechkin at such a young age of 39 years old. But this is promising. He's chasing down greatness. He is 29 goals away now from breaking or tying the all-time record held by the great one, Wayne Gretzky. So we're witnessing history in action right now. And the fact that he's doing it so early on in the season, the percentages of him breaking this record just increase every single time he scores a goal, obviously. Yeah. So a big hat trick, a big win on the road against the Vegas Golden Knights. And yeah, just a job well done overall from Ovechkin, who's just, at 39 years old, it's incredible to watch.
It really is incredible. This is going to start to get really exciting as he clicks closer to a mark that many people never thought was going to be touched, and that's clearly out the window now, and he is the best goal scorer to ever play, and I feel actually quite privileged that we've continued to see him. I'd love to see him go out on top, and I don't necessarily mean on top and it's cup or bust, because as much as I like the moves in Washington, and we know that there is a lot of fantasy characters on that team this season to really love, I just mean I want to see Washington go on a little bit of a heater in the playoffs. Yeah. That would be a fun way to kind of put the cherry on what seems to be a special season already for Ovechkin. He's 12th in the NHL in shots on net with 60. If you got him in, I don't know where he fell ADP-wise, but it's already a steal.
I think it was somewhere around the 3rd or 4th round.
Definitely a steal. I just want to say this. If I own Alex Ovechkin right now, I'm happy for sure. But if I'm in the keeper dynasty side of things, I thought long and hard about this deal. If he breaks that number this year, Washington goes on a little bit of a run and falls short. After this season, considering the trajectory of where he was headed, and I'm not taking anything away from this season or what the man has done, I'm looking at him as a very serious sell high option. You're going to get a boatload back for Alex Ovechkin right now. So if I'm looking at a guy, and I know it's really tough because if you're in the mix in a fantasy league, you don't want to move off of a guy who's so hot. But let's say in a couple of weeks, he stays hot and your team is already out of it, perhaps. I would be looking at it even more so because the name, all the buzz, and of course the quality, you might be able to snag yourself a couple of very young, good pieces to rebuild on and move forward. Hit me with your take on that, and then we can move on to Matthews or wherever else you want.
Yeah, I think it would be a great move to try to target this guy or sell him off at a high point. I
Yep.
mean, he's top 10 in fantasy rankings right now on Yahoo. I mean, I know there were a lot of question marks going into the season for the Washington Capitals with all the moves they made, especially what his production was going to be this season as well. And he hasn't faltered one bit. So he's riding a high right now. He's just behind Kirill Kaprizov in that top 10 spot. But I mean, leading the league, 13 goals, 23 points. It's incredible to watch right now, and he continues to chase down greatness. So I drafted Ovechkin. He was one of my keepers. You and I talked about this in the offseason. If I, there was no question to me if I was going to, drop him or if it was always going to be a keep scenario for me with Ovechkin because he brings that value. And I really did believe he was going to tear it up because you look back to the halfway point of last season after the All-Star break, he tore it up. He tore it up in the second half of the season. I don't know exactly the point per game that he was on or how many points he had in that stretch, but he was real hot down the stretch. And, again, tough outing, obviously, in the playoffs, getting swept by the New York Rangers, but bounced back in a big way. Those offseason moves have really paid off. I've said it multiple times throughout many episodes. They found a Nicholas Backstrom in Dylan Strome right now. He has been phenomenal, I believe. Up until maybe that empty net goal he had against the Vegas Golden Knights, Dylan Strome has assisted on every single one of Alexander Ovechkin's goals. So that's been promising for his value as well. And it's just really, really been great to see so far this year.
What's really intriguing about this Washington Capitals team and Ovechkin himself, Washington has the 27th ranked power play in the league still. The only teams that are worse are the Ducks, Blues, Islanders, and Bruins, and some of those units have been really, really bad. So the fact
Bruins is surprising, though.
That is surprising. I guess the angle I'm trying to get at here is I am just really impressed that this team is 25 points, 1 point back of the lead for the division, 7-2-1 in their last 10 games, and they're not even clicking on the power play.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an indication of this team might actually be a little bit for real. So let's keep our eye on it. I got my eye on a couple more situations. Let's talk about Matthews quick before we get to break. And if we need to, we can carry it over. We got Nurse, Connor Bedard. We got big time bets, lots to get to. Look, Auston Matthews, everyone's been talking about it. We know the record without him in the Leafs lineup. I have it right here. Over his career without Matthews in the lineup, the Leafs are 40-20-2 without Matthews. They've won 5 of 6 without him. I'm not here for any of that. I get the success of the team. Okay, it's like, what does it matter if they're winning? It matters for Auston Matthews, and it matters for fantasy owners big time. This guy needs to be back in there. He was a top 5 draft pick across the board. I feel lucky, even though my teams are straight hot trash right now, I feel lucky that I didn't have to draft him because this is a frustrating piece. 5 goals, 6 assists. And not because he's not good enough. It's just because with the injuries, a bit of a slow start. You might be really behind the 8 ball because of how much you invested fantasy-wise in Matthews. And it's likely that he misses a 7th straight game Wednesday night against Vegas.
Yeah, we'll talk about this a lot more after the break. But, I mean, for me, it's really just the secretiveness of this injury. Like, give the fans something. I know Auston Matthews likes his privacy. I know that's how he likes it to be run, personally, but I mean, we're 7 games now without seeing him on the ice and in a Leafs jersey. And again, it's just like you're getting some very vague comments and statements from the staff, especially Craig Berube, which I'll touch on after we come back from the break. But I agree with you. I mean, it for GMs out there who drafted him, I believe one of the participants in our fantasy league in the casual one, I believe he's open to shipping Auston Matthews at this point. So, I mean, this might be a good opportunity to maybe send some feelers out there, see what the price is for Auston Matthews on the IR. So, I mean, we'll continue talking about him after the break, but I'm not a fan of all the secrecy.
Totally. Even add another wrinkle of frustration into the whole situation, Steele. And 5 out of 6 wins. That's pretty good. 40-20-2. Pretty good without him. I got one more take on it. Let's get yours. We got to get to Bedard. We'll get a little Nurse update. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data. A matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, messaging, and everything that you need to connect with candidates much faster. Listeners of our show right now get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/locked-on. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on right now. Support the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast by saying you heard about it right here on this show. Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review, Flip, and I appreciate all that love you've been showing us. So thank you so much for all of that. Continuing, though, with Auston Matthews. I mean, yeah, they've been fantastic without him. 5-0-1 in his absence. He will miss his 7th straight game. This is, to me, a lot to be concerned with because, again, we're getting no answers right now. Leafs fans are getting no answers. And I want to just say what Craig Berube's statement was today as well, or yesterday. It's a little bit of a holding pattern, but he's not getting worse, so that's a good thing. It's just taking time. It's taking long, but it is what it is. So very vague, staying away from answering the question. Obviously, secrecy and privacy for Auston Matthews is a huge part of that. But
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, I mean, when Auston Matthews comes back, he's bound to talk about it. Usually, if they don't talk about it when he's going through the process, he comes back, the media is going to be all over him. He's going to have to answer. He's going to have to face those questions, and he's going to have to be honest about them. I mean, unless he just continues to say, hey, look, that's for me. That's personal. I like my privacy that way. It's, I was dealing with something, but it is what it is. Maybe it's something they're holding on to because they don't want the opposition to know. I don't know, but I don't like the privacy and the secrecy. I need to know what's going on.
I guess my last point on this is also everyone's all hyped up about, they're winning without him. They've won without him. If he comes back and because of this prolonged time off the ice, away from his top 6 line mates, and he comes back cold, not only is that bad for him, it's bad for fantasy owners, of course. That's going to be bad for the pieces around him that are playing really good hockey right now. Your best player, your highest paid player, your captain, even if you're getting dubs without him, needs to be in there in the mix, affecting your team's ability to play at both ends of the ice at an elite level. We know this song and dance with this team, Steele. They are going to be in the playoffs once again. What can they do come April 21st? And if without him in there, and I know they'll be like, he's going to get rest right now. Nah. He needs to be in there playing. He needs to be in there making the top 6 better, getting this power play back up there to where it needs to be. And I mean elite, just cooking teams like we know they can. So eyes are on this one, much like our eyes are going to be on Connor Bedard here and Darnell Nurse. Don't slip or sleep on updates from this player. That's why you'll be tapped in right here. Over to you, though. We got a little update on Darnell Nurse here.
Yeah, real quick before we get there, I just want to say in the absence, some players have really stood up and filled that gap of without Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner being one of them.
Yeah.
He's got 4 goals, 4 assists in his last 8 games. He's been phenomenal offensively for the Maple Leafs. We also got to give a shout out to Matthew Nyes, the work ethic, the dog in him. He's been good. Phenomenal for the Leafs this season. I don't know if you saw this stat as well. Bobby McMahon, whenever Bobby McMahon scores, they're 14-0-1 when McMahon scores a goal. So he needs to continue shooting the puck and using that speed to the Leafs' advantage. So I wanted to give a shout out to those 3 players.
Love that.
Because they've been playing very well in the absence of Auston Matthews. We're going to go over to Darnell Nurse. Nurse will be out 5 to 10 days. So he's not going to miss 5 to 10 games, but he will be out 5 to 10 days. This is a huge blow to fantasy owners out there who have drafted him. He's been pretty good down the stretch over the last 5 games. He's got 9 points in 18 games, 18 penalty minutes. He's filling out the peripheral categories with 45 shots, 32 blocks, and 34 hits. That's what you get when you draft this player. The offense is obviously a bonus. Anything that he does there is just a cherry on top, but you're really looking for those peripherals. So this is good. This is a huge blow for fantasy owners out there, me included. I've got him in one of the leagues, and obviously for the Edmonton Oilers as they go on this road trip.
Their goaltenders, again, Steele, just aren't good enough to lose
Yeah.
such an important piece of Darnell Nurse, and he has been a little bit of a frustrating player,
Yeah.
both because of how much money he's been paid, but both as because sometimes, in terms of the fantasy game, yeah, the peripherals are sensational, but then he'll literally go weeks without any offensive bump, and he is definitely a very important piece to the success of this team. And when you look at the bottom two pairings now in Edmonton, no disrespect to the Kulaks, Embersons, Dermotts, and Josh Browns of the world, but when you got Pickard and Stuart Skinner in there, I'm going to have to be very wary with what I'm doing with this Edmonton Oilers lineup over the next couple of, I guess, week and a half or so, especially from a betting perspective, because there might be some very high scoring games on tap, tease to bets for this Edmonton team without their rock of a blue liner back there. For the most part, I'm going to use rock, somewhat of a loose term for Darnell Nurse, but you know what I'm saying. When he's on his game, he is a game changer for them in terms of throwing that body around. Anyway, a little bit of a very dumb play from Ryan Reeves, but we got to talk about it from a fantasy
Yeah.
perspective. So should we about Connor Bedard? Over to you, and then let's get to bets.
Yeah, he's holding himself accountable, and he has not been playing good hockey. This has been a rough couple of weeks for the Chicago Blackhawks. Taylor Hall got healthy scratched, and he was very shocked by that move from the management, from the coaching staff. So things aren't going well in Chicago, and especially for Connor Bedard. He has gone pointless in his last 3 games. He has 1 point in his last 5. So he talked to the media. He knows he has to be better. He knows he's not playing at the standard at which he holds himself to, at the standard of which all of us hockey fans and analysts and analytics and media people hold him to as well. He's not playing good enough. And, a lot of that has to do with, obviously the team that has been put together in front of him or around him, as well as, the thing too is, I said this the other day or a couple of episodes ago, Connor Bedard has to be the playmaker for everybody. So it's hard to expect him to shoot the puck as much as we would like to, because he has to be passing, playmaking, setting up his teammates in those areas to capitalize on good scoring opportunities. He can't just continue to carry the puck in the offensive zone and do everything by himself. That's me sort of alluding to big time bets in this game against the Anaheim Ducks. But yeah, he hasn't been good enough whatsoever. And for fantasy GMs out there, me included, once again, I have him in the casual league. Not good enough. And it's sad to see right now in his sophomore season.
Growing pains are going to be there. Young players struggling for consistency. It's going to happen. His career is going to be fine. Fantasy-wise, though, this is another one of those blows to a lot of GMs that took him probably fairly high. It must have been when did you grab him? It must have been around maybe the 4th or 5th round. Probably not too much later
I want to say it was the 4th or 5th round. I can get it up real quickly.
So
but
that means
it
you're
was
invested.
somewhere around there.
Yeah, and that means you're invested. And look, Teravainen and Bertuzzi come in. It looked like that was going to be the top line.
I took him in the 3rd round. So a little bit higher.
Even more frustrating. But, look at who he's playing with just this past game. Jason Dickinson, Joey Anderson getting a look. The game before that I checked, it was Donato and Craig Smith. And Teravainen and Bertuzzi coming in, you thought on paper it would probably be those two. They haven't stuck either. So as much as I am going to hold him accountable like he is himself, man, those are some ragtag options to put around a young player. And then at times he's playing with Nick Foligno. Come on, guys. It's going to happen. And what's interesting, though, is as much as this team has struggled to score goals, I had that up a second ago, 3rd worst in the NHL with only 40, tied for second last with 42 goals. The power play's in the top half. So they're a bit of a frustrating team overall, Steele, to try and pick apart. I think they just lost Seth Jones long-term as well. So
they did.
I have a feeling here. Speaking of bets, I'm going to be fading this Blackhawks team even heavier. But, Connor Bedard, just 3 goals is just not going to cut it. Is he going to get there? Yes. But maybe that real breakout, blow-up type season is still a year away.
Yeah, I think so for the Chicago Blackhawks team. Just those pieces, like you said, Bertuzzi and Teravainen started off pretty well, but just not a lot of consistency in their game. We've been down that road with Bertuzzi, especially. So We know what it's like for when he's not going, but hopefully things turn around for Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. We're going to come back after the break and talk about big time bets, 7 games on the board Tuesday night. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. The goal is so simple. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings pour in all season long. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and you can win 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Leon Draisaitl, 4+ shots. Igor Shesterkin, 25+ saves. The possibilities are endless. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive this bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us. That's why we do the same thing at the end of every single episode, just every episode in general, giving you back that love with the waiver wire targets, with the big time bets, put a little extra cash in your money, especially with the holidays coming up. That's what we do here. Flip, over to you, my friend. 7 games on the board. Where are you looking first?
Yeah, there's a couple of very intriguing matchups, but I also found this to be a relatively tough board. So if you're feeling the same,
it was. Yeah,
if you're feeling the same, then that's just a moment that screams back up off of it. And look, we come on here and we do bets every single night, but I am also never going to tell you what to do with your money. You do what you need to do, even though I say slap 5s, 10s, 20s all over the place. You know what I'm saying? We try and point you in the right direction. So now that I've copped out completely, Quinn Hughes has quietly gone about his business, racking up assists this season for the Vancouver Canucks. He had another one Saturday night. I believe that's 4 out of his last 5 games. He's got an assist, 15 on the season. And I know up against the Rangers club, you're going to think that might be one of those stingy defensive matchups. I think Quinn Hughes is going to continue to roll and do his thing. If this Vancouver team is going to be legit, they are going to need another Norris-level season from their captain and from their #1 blue liner in Quinn Hughes. So I'm looking at Quinn Hughes in this one, Steele. I'm digging into a player prop. I got a money line pick, and I got an over-under as my lock of the night. But my first pick with the Rangers in town against the Vancouver Canucks, I think you're going to see this kid elevate his game, and I'm going to go with the Quinn. I don't know who wins this one, Steele. I'd lean to the Rangers, but I'm going to take Quinn Hughes, anytime assist. That's my first pick.
I like that pick a lot. He is really, again, just going about his business right now, and he's been pretty good for the Vancouver Canucks this season. For me, I really was only looking at 2 games specifically, and I think there's many options you can go with these 2 games, but my first pick, I'm going with the Lightning on the puck line against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, recent history has showed us that the Lightning have struggled against the Penguins in the last 10 games. I believe they went 3-5-2. Yep. However, this is a Penguins team that is just not good, and the Lightning are good. It's as simple as that for me. I think you could still easily go on the money line. As of right now, it's -142. The puck line is +158. I like to spice things up. You know, I'm the puck line guru out here, so I'm feeling the Lightning on the puck line against these Pittsburgh Penguins. And I'm adding that with Nikita Kucherov 2+ points. He's on a 7-game point streak right now. 3 of those have been multi-point games. This is a team that is great offensively. Jake Gensel, I gave him a little bit of some words the other day. He stepped up with a 2-goal performance. Nikita Kucherov just play makes. He sets his teammates up, and he can also just really we know he can shoot the puck. So it's as simple as that for me. Lightning on the puck line and Kucherov 2+ points for my first 2 picks.
Love it. I like that Kucherov 2+ points is spicy. That might catch a little bit of my money. Speaking of telling you what to do with it. I love that angle that you're talking about because we love to bring up the head-to-heads, and a lot of times it is indicative of hopefully what happens, and we like to count it into our predictions. Not every single time, and that's a good one because it's the same here for me when the Minnesota Wild head into St. Louis. 5-3-2 the Minnesota Wild in their last 10 against St. Louis. This St. Louis team is really bad in my opinion. And there's nothing in this lineup that jumps off the page And again, those head-to-head numbers don't exactly inspire a lot of confidence. But when you look at what the St. Louis Blues have been doing over their recent stretch of performances, I am going with the Minnesota Wild all day here. Let me read this off. Loss to Utah, 8-1 loss to Washington, a tough loss to Buffalo and Boston. Then they squeak out a win against Boston, who have been bad, and then they lose again. This team has not looked good. They're struggling to score goals big time while also struggling to keep them out of your own net. I don't think I need to say much more. And look, I know Minnesota, 2 losses out of their last 3. They're going to get it back on track in a big way. Pump St. Louis here. That's my next pick. Money line, baby.
You know,
Minnesota
you
Wild.
know, you know, I'm loving that pick right there. Got to go with Mini every single day. My last pick, though, we talked about him on today's episode. We alluded to it, or I alluded to it. For me, my last pick is Connor Bedard anytime goal. You can also go anytime point or the anytime assist, but I'm feeling a goal from Connor Bedard. He made some statements again to the media and holding himself accountable for his play recently not being good enough. It's not up to the standards. He hasn't been shooting the puck a lot. And again, I just said he has to be a playmaker for this team, but he also has to shoot. They're going up against the Anaheim Ducks, who lead the league in shots allowed this season with 34.88 shots allowed per game. So this is a good matchup for two teams that are struggling in the Western Conference, for some of their young players to maybe feel a little free out there, get some confidence in their game. Cutter Gauthier just got his first goal the other day as well. So maybe that's a boost for him. But I think Connor Bedard specifically needs this matchup for him just to use his speed, use his shot, use his vision and playmaking ability. I'm going with the Connor Bedard anytime goal. You could do the point or the assist, but that's what I'm feeling for Tuesday night. My lock of the night, though, is the Nikita Kucherov 2+ points.
Slapping that into a parlay, the 2+ points for sure. The Connor Bedard is bold. I like it. You're going to get a good odd for that. My lock of the night, it's by far my favorite pick of this night. So if you're not feeling the other two, hammer the lock right here. Edmonton into Ottawa on the second half of a back-to-back. They had Montreal last night. They're on their East Coast Canada swing. I mentioned Darnell Nurse out, and I'm not backing off of the over here. This one screams over to me, Steele. The Ottawa Senators have been getting theirs. They've been definitely getting theirs at home as well. And take this in. 6 of the last 8 games between these two have gone over the number, and the last 3 games, Steele, between these two, they have combined for 21 total goals in the last 3 games. So hit me with that over in a big, big way. There's going to be fireworks in the nation's capital tonight.
I'm loving the over in that pick as well. That is getting slapped into a parlay for my picks as well. Those are the locks. Those are the picks. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button. Leave a 5-star review. We appreciate it every single day from both Flip and I. We wish you good luck with your bets, your weekly matchups, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.